Stay tuned. This is Erhard Ruettimann, and I'm the founder of Personal Breakthrough Academy and the CEO of Communication Partners. In today's fourth video in a series of 9 videos, we're going to talk about step number 4 in the transformula process. The transformula process stands for my methodology of how you can break through under any circumstance and under all conditions. And as you can see, it consists of a 9-step process. In the first 3 hangouts, we talked about step number 1, 2, and 3. And today we are going to cover step number 4. Maybe as a quick reminder and to refresh our memories, let's talk about the first 2 or 3 steps again. Step number 1 is task. Task stands for what is it that I have to work on? What is my task? Or acknowledge your problem, the problem you have in that specific situation. I don't like to call it a problem. I prefer to talk about the task because it gives me much more energy if I can work on a task than to overcome a problem. So, but this is just, I talk myself into a higher level of energy by not using the word problem, but just by asking myself, what is my task? What do I have to work on? Step number 2 in the process is the R, and the R stands for our resistance. Because when we are in a difficult situation or we are stuck and we don't know how to move on, normally this is because we resist something. Normally it's we resist the situation we are in. We resist the action we should take. And therefore it's so important first to acknowledge that we have a task to work on, and then to accept that we resist. Because if we do not accept that it's a resistance, we just push the things aside or we procrastinate. But by accepting that we resist and by accepting that it's normal to resist, we give it a much bigger chance to move to step number 3 in the process. And step number 3 in the process is analyze. And what do you analyze when you are in the process? The most important thing is you analyze your emotion or your emotions. Because if you have a situation which is difficult and if you realize you cannot move on, normally this creates a lot of emotion, a lot of guilt because you do know what you should do, or fear because you are afraid of doing what you want to do, or whatever it is that keeps you away from doing what you really want. And then, if we have analyzed our emotion and we can accept it, that this emotion is there, then it's very important to go to step number 4. And we do that very quickly. And step number 4 is notice your reaction and learn to understand it. What do I mean by that? Normally, if we have certain emotions, we have a tendency to react immediately without even thinking about it. Think about the situation where you are in the traffic and you want to drive home safely, and suddenly someone comes from the right side and just cuts your way, and you have to go to your brakes, and just by sheer luck you could avoid an accident. I think you don't have to think about how should I react in such a situation. You immediately either explode, or you're frustrated, or you start to shout at the person who did that. And this reaction is something that is normally not done consciously. These reactions, they just come up because we have trained ourselves to react in a certain way under certain circumstances. And this doesn't mean that we don't have a choice, but what we have built over the years is a certain habit. So if this or that happens, we react in a certain way, and we normally react in exactly the same way. So the reason why this is so important to notice that there is a reaction after an emotion is that we want to learn to capture that fraction of a second where we still have a chance to decide what to do before our automatic habit takes over and just does what we don't want to see. Because this is what leads us normally to that difficult situation, you know? Because if we could always keep control over our reaction, we would have much more choices. We could say, hey, wait a moment, this is what happened. This is how I normally react. But aren't there more opportunities? Are there more possibilities? And just by keeping still at that moment, and by realize that we have the power to choose our reaction, gives us much more choices. And by having all these choices, we can really select. We can dissect it and say, okay, if I do this, then this and that happens. If I do this, then this and that happens. And by going beyond all the things we already have thought about, we create more and more and more solutions. And by creating more and more solutions, we get more and more resourceful. And the more resourceful we are, the much better decisions we can take. So we have been given free will. And what we have to learn to use it the way that it really serves us. Because if we just rely on our normal habits and our reactions, we will always get the same results as we have gotten before. I think it was Einstein who said, if you want to see a different result, you have to do something differently. Or in other words, doing the same thing all over and over again and expecting a different result is just kind of insane. That's what Einstein said, and I can say in my own life, this has been proved to be true. Because if I expect something else, then I have to react in another way, or I have to choose to react in another way. And what you start to see is that the formula starts, and let me bring it up again for you, the formula starts to become a flow. It's really a process where you have to learn different steps, but they will flow one to the other to the other. And you can only do that in a way that you want if you really train yourself to do that. And if you want to learn more, if you want to grow and find out how to break through under any circumstance, it's imperative that you go through all the 9 steps, that you train yourself to do them consciously, and you apply them again and again and again. And by doing that, this becomes permanent. The more you practice, the more permanent this becomes. So it means that you start to replace an old habit that didn't serve you by a new habit that makes much more sense for you. And not only that, it doesn't only make much more sense for you, it produces also much better results. Yes, so we are already at the end of step number 4. If you want to follow us in our community, if you want to not only learn more about the transformula, but also about what other people say about their experiences, go to our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/personal breakthrough secrets, and you can find out more and connect with other like-minded souls and see how we can support each other in our ongoing journey of breaking through our resistances and start to become who we really are. Thank you very much for being with us. The next video comes out soon. In step number 5, we will talk about the S. And yes, be curious. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on video number 5. Have a wonderful day and see you soon. Thank you for being here.